want to execute a goldfish. But is it legal?
You want to execute a goldfish? Why?
Well, I've had it up to here with him, that's why. He's ruining my tank. He thinks he's the big dog and just generally mucks around in there digging in the gravel and stuff. And he's also very vicious. He killed a small fish I put in a few weeks ago, and I'm sure he's been eating some of the other fish's eggs. The worst thing, though, is that when I go to feed him or clean the tank, he comes right up to the glass and he tries to stare me out.
Stares you out?
Yes, he's got a really mean look. I know it sounds stupid, but it unsettles me. I feel daft getting intimidated by a fish that's only a couple of inches long.
Don't be too hard on yourself. I suppose a goldfish could be frightening.
So, I've decided I'm going to teach the little fucker a lesson.
You're going to teach a lesson to a goldfish?
Yes, but I'm worried about any consequences. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I can't get done for animal cruelty or anything like that, can I, if I kill him? It's only a little fish, after all, not a dog or anything.
Oh, just flush him down the toilet.
I can't do that! What happens if he doesn't flush and hangs around in the toilet, looking up at me whilst I'm, well, sort of doing things?
Well, put it in a bag and throw it in the canal then, job done.
Oh, no, I can't do that either. I'd be worried about someone seeing me and, knowing my luck, it would mate with some dozy pike, creating a mutant that terrorised the waterways of Birmingham.
I'd worry more about the drugs you're doing.
I am thinking about seeing a therapist, but I can't find anyone who specialises in paranoia about goldfish.
Now there's a surprise.
Do I detect a note of sarcasm in your voice? A bit of disdain, perhaps? I don't think you're treating my problem with the seriousness it dissolves with my murderous goldfish.
I'm sorry.
That's better. I need people on my side. Back up if you like. Now, what do you suggest?
Well, you could batter it and serve it with chips, peas and a nice bit of tartar sauce.
See, you're just like everybody else. You don't care. And meanwhile, innocent, small fish are dying.
Okay, I'll try and help. Now, what exactly is happening?
Well, I've got this big chair right near the tank, and it's just intimidating me. And whilst I sit there watching TV, this fucker has got his face pressed against the glass, staring at me. I used to bang the tank, lightly of course, with a hammer to frighten off, but he's not even scared of that anymore.
Yes, I can see how that could be unnerving. How do you propose to deal with this goldfish then?
Well, I'm not quite sure about the method actually. There's a few choices floating around. One of my mates said popping in the microwave would get the job done, a bit like the electric chair for fish. But then, I had the idea of just letting him suffocate on a plate in front of the tank, so the other fish could see, just to show them what would happen if they too misbehave. I know he hasn't hurt me, but he's hurt other fish. I look on my tank as my own little creation. I am their god. I provide food, light and warmth and protection. If this little wanker of a fish is going to mess around in my house, he must be punished.
Punishment. Let's think about that. You are talking about punishment in terms of execution. Why not think instead of rehabilitation?
Well, I could buy a separate, smaller, colder, and less well-oxygenated tank, I suppose, and use it as a kind of jail. Put him in solitary for a while to teach him a lesson. But that's a lot of hassle and expense, and it probably won't change him anyway.
You keep on referring to this goldfish as a him. How do you know?
Well, it's got to be, hasn't it? You ever heard of a female killer goldfish?
That's a fair point. You could do the decent thing and give it to someone who wants it. There are plenty of people around wanting tropical fish. Most of all, don't do the microwave thing. You don't know anything about its background. Maybe it was abused as a little fish. Maybe it was traumatised when it was caught. I mean, let's be honest, if you were happily swimming around coral reefs off the Maldives one minute and then ended up in Fish World in Erdington, you'd be pretty pissed off too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, perhaps you're right. But 25 years in solitary would get him thinking.
I had a problem fish once.
You did? What happened?
It didn't stare me out though. Its behaviour was quite different. It was a night stalker type killer. Every morning for about 2 weeks I'd wake up and inspect the tank, only to discover some murderous denizen of my fishy aquarium, I mean paradise, had seen off another neon or tiger barb. The rest of the tank dwellers must have dreaded me turning off the strip light of an evening. Only the angelfish survived an attack, and she was too traumatised to provide much of a description. My suspicions centred on the shark, but not because of any concrete facts. It was just one of the usual suspects, circumstantial evidence, if you like. Anyhow, all of a sudden, the attacks just stopped. No leads, no clues, nothing. Just paradise lost for my water-bound subjects. They lost faith in me after that. I could see it in their eyes. And shortly afterwards I sold the tank and fish to Fish World in Erdington. You didn't buy your killer fish from there, did you? Maybe you got cocky from not being caught. What type of goldfish was it?
I'm not sure.
Is it the only one of its type in the tank? Perhaps it's looking for love. If you were banged up in a glass tank with nothing to shag, with an ugly bastard staring in at you from time to time, you would get a bit moody too. You should determine its gender and find a partner for it. Gay fish tanks are, of course, a no-no.
Well, yeah, of course. You have a point, but it sounds like too much effort. And it might seem like I'm rewarding his conniving ways. I could give it to somebody, but the people I know who've got tanks won't want it because of the horror stories I've told them. Is there something like the RSPCA for fish?
I still think that a visit to Fish World could be for the best.
I really wouldn't want some poor sod to suffer with this psycho of a fish, and to be honest, I'm on bad terms with Fish World anyway. We had a pretty serious falling out over some bronze catfish.
I know. You could borrow a piranha fish off someone and just park it next to your tank as a sort of threat to the little bleeder.
Or I could plug a toaster in and drop it in the fish tank.
Just remember to take your crumpets out of the toaster first. Of course, I'm not saying you should actually do it. You shouldn't just kill it, just because it winds you up by watching you when you're sat down. Why don't you just move your chair instead?
Because then it will have won. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do it. Perhaps I'll give it a few days just to see how things pan out.
I think that you should really ask yourself why you're letting a fish looking at you bother you that much.
It's not just the way it looks at me. It's just its whole general demeanour. Perhaps I should keep a record of its poor behaviour and then confront it with it, you know, just like they do with Asbos.
Perhaps you should try another shop. There are plenty of fish shops apart from Fish World.
No, I need to be honest with him about this past, wouldn't I? I can hardly say that it would make an ideal family pet, when in fact it's a scheming, murderous bastard.
Well, why don't you try one of those internet fish forums? Maybe they could help you.
You think I haven't tried that? They all just laughed at me, posting stuff which took the piss. I know. I could take it out, freeze it, and video it. Then take a picture of its dead body and post them on the fish forum. It works for Al-Qaeda, doesn't it? That'll teach them for not helping me.
Look, maybe if you got out a bit more, it would be easier to put this into perspective.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should just do that now. Get some air.
Good idea. You'll feel all the better for it.
You don't know when that scuba diving shop closes, do you?
Scuba diving. The fish tank isn't that big, you know.
I know that. It's just that they might sell spear guns.